open it up and fill out safely up. Sometimes it's open and close the turbine. See the restored concrete when the wall was restored in 1903. We believe it was 1903. There's been more than one pumpkin flood, so there are different stories, but for the most part we got most of the dates down. This wall over here is all original. And you take a look at the size of the rocks in that they moved in like 1872 without steam shovels and such. It was quite a feat. These log sleds were found underneath where you're standing in about 3 foot of sawdust before we put the gravel floor down. We put gravel down to make it steadier for people. And we found those underneath, so we hung them up. We think they're original. In the wintertime, they would go into the forest, cut down the trees, drag the logs out with horses, and they'd store them across the road up on the hill. Then in the springtime, when they had enough water to run the mill, they would let them roll down into the mill pond, and the sawyer could drag them into there. Over here, above the turbine on the turbine structure here, there's 2 bevel gears that mesh. The bottom one, which is horizontal, has wooden teeth like this. We have a bunch of these. We don't like to try to make them because there isn't a straight line on them. When the mill jams, this is what's supposed to break. That's our shear pin. Everything in the mill is driven on this 3-inch steel shaft. This pulley here goes up to a belt up there that you can see in the mid-level. We just got it hanging on that I-beam there. That was for a chop saw, swinging chop saw. It's a naked blade that you swing with a handle in the back of the mill. And they put it there so that when they had lumber with bad ends, they could cut off the ends and shove them out the back of the mill. Farmers would take them, whatever, and use them for kindling. We don't run that anymore. It's dangerous. Well, more dangerous. And so we leave that off. The belt you see right here goes to 2 pulleys up here. This is our sawdust removal belt. And it runs in this trough all the way up underneath the head saw. And that takes sawdust from the head saw and our pitcher over there on the end, and it takes it and it drops it down right behind that fellow back there. If it works right, you can do that. This is the main power supply. This is our main belt. It's a 12-inch belt. This powers the saw, 52 or 53-inch blade. I forget which we're running. And it also powers the carriage that runs the logs through the saw blade. So that's the main power for the mill. This here is called the goal wheel. Now the goal wheel makes contact with the 12-inch pulley down here when the sawyer operates a big lever up near the sawyer station. It actually moves, that beam up there goes to this column. And that lever moves this column over so the goal wheel touches the steel wheel, and that spool so he could roll them onto the carriage. Over in the end there, that last belt is our edger. And our edger is simply two saw blades, one stationary and one slides on a shaft. So you can adjust the width. And that takes the edges off of bark, what the bark or the live edge off the boards. In those days, they just wanted square lumber. That's all they wanted. Today, live edge is popular, but nobody wanted to build with it. So that's how they got the lumber square. Are there any questions about the basement? We're going to go up to the mid-level, up above you here. It's a little tight up there, so I'll feed you up to the main level a little bit at a time, because I don't think you're all going to fit in there one time. And there's just a few things you can see in there.
I have a question.
Sure.
On any given day when this is in operation, how many people are in this space?
None.
None.
No.
Okay.
They would come down here when something wasn't running right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, all three were up on the main floor.
Okay.
Two tail stockers and one sawyer, for the most part.
Well, I know I'm no relation, but my name just happened to be Sawyer. But to hear my name in the story, it's like, and I know that's it.
Well, one guy would operate the carriage, the logs, and the two guys on the other end of the saw blade would take the wood out and put it on the cart, and they'd bring it down on a trestle, and it would put piles, and then they would come and they would grade it. The buyers would come. The buyers would come here for weeks every year, and they set prices on different piles. Pulleys over here, this is where they transferred the power for the chop saw from that side of the mill up to the center of the mill. And that just goes upstairs to the swing saw. You'll see it when you go upstairs. Yeah. Oh. I'm sorry. If you look at the beams, you'll see most of them are still hand-hewn beams. These were put in before there was a saw. There's a few like over here on the side wall that have been replaced, like this is a replaced beam. Then those were put in after the saw was operational. Over here, this counterweight, this is for the bull wheels. This is our safety. If you push this, that makes contact with the pulley downstairs and drives the bull wheel. There was a time when this was with a rope, the mice ate the rope and they didn't check it, and it pulled the bull wheel rope and the whatever they call those foots, they bang in the locks right through the floor. So it is kind of powerful. That's an idler, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they flap around quite a bit. Yeah. 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 They flop around pretty good, yeah. Okay, so we're going to have the main floor. Yes, it's a beautiful day.
Last month
Yeah, we're going to run the
rain.
planer down there later.
It was not nice. If you're under 5 feet tall, you have to be right operating this mill since 1988, and we do sawing like this, but we also saw for private groups. So if that ever occurs, we'd be happy to accommodate. I didn't hear everything that Blair said downstairs, but I'm sure he made up a lot of it, so everything I tell you is true. It's a bad habit. And I'll take questions anytime, and I do my best to ignore them. But if in the unlikely event I can't, I'll make something up that sounds plausible. This mill used to employ 3 people. It could saw a log that was 40 feet long. There's a rope over here operated by the bull wheel, which would be stretched to the mill pond. Grabs were hammered into the log, and the winch was engaged. The log would be pulled into the saw. That wheel is very powerful. The turbine that's in there rotates at 500 RPM. The saw is geared up. It rotates at 750. The 40 teeth in it is 50, I think it's 54 inches in diameter. The teeth are sharpenable, and they're also replaceable. I'll show you those later on. So I heard you say 5,000 feet, right? You didn't make that up. That's true. Those 5,000 feet would not be stacked here. But for comparison purposes, ready for this? That's about 450 feet. So imagine 5,000. That's a lot of lumber in one day. That would be 30, I calculated 37 logs, about 16 inches in diameter and 8 feet long. Maybe 10 feet, but who's counting? That's a lot of lumber. You'll see how long it takes to saw 1 or 2 when we start that. Now this is the back of the mill, and lumber that would come through here and would be deemed unusable, like this. This is junk. It's a slab off the side of a log. Would be cut right in this area. There's a chop saw. If somebody could reach that handle and pull, you have to see it a little bit better. How about I? I'm in a better position. Stuff and pull. That cuts off the length. That rotates about 750 RPM too. And it would be driven by the main shaft downstairs. The belt would come up to the mid-level. And I think you probably saw the shaft that went across there. Yes? Yeah. Maybe you didn't notice. I don't know whether Blair mentioned it. There's 4 bearings on that shaft. 3 of them are wood. Just wooden bearings. They lubricate them and then periodically replace them. There are some spares around. I think Blair told you about the wooden teeth in the bevel here, right? Did he tell you that last October we sheared all 50% of them? Pulled them right off. Went down the next day for the next tour. Oil. What do we do now? Well, we replaced them enough to saw. But this year, before we started in the spring, we replaced them all. That was a very laborious job. Very rough cut, as you saw. I'm sure he held one up. They're very rough cut. They have to be manipulated to fit in the slot, and then they have to be further ground or sanded or filed or something so that they mesh with the corresponding tooth. And so that if they mesh with the tooth on the right, they don't interfere with the tooth on the left. The point is, it took a long time to do. So,
what wood is this? Maple or?
they are, I think they're ash. Yeah, ash is a fairly tough wood. Those teeth that we put in now, as long as we don't have some catastrophic issue, they should last for a long time. I mean, years. Shouldn't be a problem. I don't know who cut the blanks, but we had about 150, so we're probably down to about 125 now, something like that. They're not easy to mass produce. So, right outside here, if you stuck your head out that window, it would go straight down. There used to be a trestle out there, like this trestle behind us on this side. The trestle had a cart on it, the scrap would go into the cart, would be pushed down, unloaded somehow, dump it, whatever, pushed back up. That's a very laborious process. They took that out, put a chute in. And now you cut the log, scrap, it goes down the chute, you can back your horse and buggy right up underneath that, fill it, and you've got plenty of, firewood for heating your home, for cooking, etc. You can back your pickup truck on that area, taking cut lumber from the saw, stacking it, sending it outside, running it through the edger, etc. This is the belt that comes up where my foot is. That's the belt that comes up from the basement, 12 inches wide. It's about 3 inches thick. I'm sorry, 3/8 of an inch thick. So it's like that. It's basically car tire material. That's relatively new. You know what it used to be made from? Any idea? No idea. How about you? Any idea what they used to make these belts from? No? Had to think about it.
Canvas.
Leather, cowhide. That belt's about 60 feet long, 3/8 thick. Takes a lot of cows to make that, folks. All kidding aside, that's a lot of leather. If we had to replace this today, we would have to rely on a grant. It's very expensive. This stuff, I just bought some a couple of years ago. It's about $4 a foot, lineal foot. You need 4-inch width, very expensive. You can see it's hinged together. That material that hinges it, you can see it better on this one, is called lacing. This is lacing. It's not the right one for this belt, but you can see this one a little bit better. So you put lacing on one side, on one end, lacing on the other end, put a pin through it, you're all set to go. Here's the question. Why do you think they call it lacing?
Looks like a shoelace.
Let me show you something. See that lacing right there on your shoe? That's lacing. That's why they call it lacing. Because, I know this is hard to see, but I'll pass this around. The belt, prior to the metal lacing, was actually sewn with rawhide. Or with some material. As you would put together a shoelace, for example. You're welcome to take a look at that. Here's a couple of teeth. These are referred to as bits. Little tiny things, and they're replaceable. This tool grabs in here, pull it, one piece rotates up, the bit is extracted, the new one is put in. These are about $2 a piece. But they're sharpenable, so we can sharpen them. What do you think causes them to dull? Anybody? Pardon? I can't hear you.
Rocks and dirt.
Rocks and dirt. Bingo. And? Nails. And?
Barbed wire.
Barbed wire. And? Glass insulators. You better hope you don't hit one of these rascals. This is hard. You will ruin the saw blade, and in all likelihood, teeth will be ejected from the saw blade. They will fly all over. That's a glass insulator. Ceramic, you know. This is a glass insulator that was nailed to a tree for about 10 years. It's about 60% enveloped. Another 10 years, you might not know it was there. Today they would more than likely have a way to find something like this. They'd also have a way to find nails. I'm not going to send these bits around, far too many people, but they are replaceable. They're also sharpened. I sharpened them with a file. They're a hardened steel, but not greatly hard. They last, you know, they're reasonable. built a new water gate. I'll just talk about that a little bit. Okay. And then I'll give you a little information on Joel Hill. It's kind of an interesting story. And then we're going to saw a log. Now when we do that, we have two logs ready to go. One's on the carriage, the other is ready to pull. It's going to be tough for everybody to see if we do one log. So if we half of you sort of come in and view it and then move out of the way and let other people come in, that would probably work best. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, what about the mud?
This pond.
You need a sediment erosion, which is a very
Informal thing.
That's how they're bringing the water over.
Or, well, yeah. Certain.
You just have to divert the water.
Yeah. How do you know that?
Because I work for. I'm on a Sunday. I'm not going to get into it.
Oh, okay.
That's what I do. I help people do that.
Oh, beautiful.
Fake County. Conservation.
We did that once with a log and didn't catch it in time, and it somehow wound up at the other end. It was a Sunday, and we work here on Tuesdays, and I said, we'll get it Tuesday, don't worry about it. That was a mistake. We went over to Stillway, and getting it out of there was really, really rough.
Come on over here. It's going to come.
So we've got water now going through the turbine. We're all set to run. So if you want to just stay in the shade over there, the further away you are from the pole, the quieter it is. I'll just go over a couple things, and then we're going to saw, and we'll pull a log, and as long as we don't run out of water, we'll saw another one. So everybody gets a chance to see. So back over that way someplace. Deck, you saw the globe, penstock came down into the globe. Big thing, right? Yeah. This is what's inside the globe. It's identical. The only difference is that some of these components on the one in there are stainless steel. Otherwise, identical. This was manufactured by the James Luffel Company in Springfield, Ohio. You hear okay? They are still in business. I talked to them a couple of months ago. They can still supply replacement parts. Wow. When the Historical Society took over in 1988, the turbine that was in there, not this one, was sent to a machine shop down in Troop, and they did some refurbishing work. And then I think it was maybe 2000. It's probably on the pictures downstairs on the deck if you happen to see them. It was extracted again and sent to the James Luffel Company, and they completely rebuilt it. And it's been running real well ever since. The turbine that's in there now was installed in 1961 according to Luffel's records. 1895 was the first sale of a turbine to Joel Hill, but it wasn't for this mill. This mill had a water wheel, and it looked like that. There's another one over here, just like. But if you look at this one, this is before 1903. There was no turbine. There was a water wheel on here, and you can't see the water wheel. It's encased in cribbing of some sort. If you look above the water wheel, there's a man standing there. I was told by a Hill family descendant that that's Joel Hill. Now, Joel Hill was born in 1848, and he passed away in 1919. His grandson, Joel Hill, was born in 1917 and died in 1987 at age 70. It was his desire that this mill be donated to the Historical Society, and we've been operating it ever since. Just to do a little business, I know Blair mentioned it. When I was talking the last tour we had, somebody said, well, you get grants to run this. No, we don't. We rely on the generosity of the people who come through. We really appreciate whatever help you can afford. Joel Hill was in the Civil War, Civil War veteran. He's buried right across Route 191 out here at the corner of Callicoon Road and 191. At that location, he had a grist mill, a general store, an acid factory, and I suspect that there was another sawmill over there, but that's long gone. I'm not quite sure of that, but I think that was the case. He was at the surrender at the end of the Civil War. He came home and went into business working for Colbert and Branning, and later on purchased the sawmill. He was a kind of a big deal in the county. I had a brother-in-law who was doing a little research for me on newspapers.com, you know, and he said, he was kind of a big deal, wasn't he? Yeah. He was a 6-year county commissioner. In 1900, he was appointed associate judge in Honesdale. 1902, he began a 4-year stint as a state senator. In 1912, he ran for Congress and lost, and he figured that's enough politics, and he quit. So this is what's inside. All right, then getting back to this. The only part that rotates is this. This is stationary. Remember the wheel I had my foot on? I said, pay attention. When you turn that wheel, these gates open, water rushes in, goes out the bottom. That's how the turbine works. It's not really complicated.
This is all enclosed in the big pumpkin that you saw down below.
This is about 800, 900 pounds. Very heavy. We took the one out down there twice. Once to... Oh, this sits on a rim inside the globe. We took it out because the rim was broken. We had a welder come in and do a lot of repair work. The second time we took it out, we tried turning it, it wouldn't run. There was a piece of metal. This piece of metal was stuck in between the impeller, the fan inside, and the casing. We still don't know where this came from, but fortunately we got it out without doing any damage. Now here's something that's kind of cool. Right there. Can't see it from the back. Can you see that? What do you think that is? What's that look like? Can you tell?
My little volunteer. What do you think that is? Is it plastic?
Yeah. She said it might be plastic. There's another one right there made from the same material. I'm going to flip it so you can see. So you got one here, one down on the bottom, got all the way down. Right there. Those are bearings. Those are the only 2 bearings in the turbine. They're made from wood.
You have a volunteer.
You do? Right? You volunteering? Well, come here. You can help. As long as you promise not to get me wet.
Really?
What's that say on there? Can you read it? Oh, put it in, please. Does it float or sink? It's wood. It's got to float, right? Just throw it on the ground there, please. What's this one say? Cherry. Put that one in. Floats.
Yeah.
How about this one?
Walnut.
Walnut. Floats. What's this one? Still floats, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't sink that rascal, can you? All right, put that one in. Just drop it in. Whoa, right to the bottom. That's our bearing material. Who speaks Latin?
Nobody knows.
Oh, okay. Then I can make this up. How'd you know that?
My brother.
Thank you.
Lignum vitae.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah, it's a living tree or tree of life. Something like that. Lignum vitae. Lignum vitae, lignum vitae, lignum vitae. I've heard 4 different pronunciations now.
It depends what
Very,
Latin you're from.
yeah, I guess so. What part of Italy you're from, right? Very dense tropical hardwood. Very dense. Grows northern South America, Central America. Somebody told me it grows on one of the Florida Keys. I have no idea. I wasn't down there. Very hard, very dense, and it does sink. You want to feel it? Here. Lignum vitae, pine, for comparison. And if we spin this, can you grab hold of that with us? We're going to turn it that way, okay? Go ahead. Oh my goodness. You done? You eat breakfast this morning? Come on. All right, you get the idea. That's enough. Too hot for that. log in. As far as I know, there was no ramp like we had, but they would stop traffic or horses. Remember, we saw it till 1974, right? So you have to stop traffic and around that time, put up a sign. We found this buried inside.
You put that at the beginning or the end?
Well, maybe they had two. I'm kind of thinking. I didn't know that was there. I found that buried inside under a pile of stuff.
Yeah.
Same way we found it. Well, we knew the logging sled was there, but I'm not sure we knew there were two pieces or what kind of condition it was in. We pulled it out to level off the area down there and said, this ought to be hanging.
Yeah.
When we did that, we found a forge fan for blacksmith underneath the sled. Now, there's no evidence that there was a forge on site, but one of the photos over here taken from 1974 does show a little outbuilding down here. It could have been a blacksmith shop, I'm not sure. That's my guess.
I think that would have been logical.
Yeah, it would have been logical, yeah. And it makes sense that it would have been a separate building because, a blacksmith shop had a tendency to burn down.
Yeah, you don't want fire around.
So
You don't want fire around
better burn down your little blacksmith shop than your sawmill. We're probably ready to saw. Now we have a log on the carriage. It's not a very good one because it's crooked. The saw is going to cut it, but we're not going to get a whole lot of lumber on it. So if we saw that, two things. You'll be able to see, some of you'll be able to see, and that just make room for everybody else to get in and we'll saw another log. But what you don't want to miss, and you can look at it from out here or over there, doesn't matter, or inside on the right, this rope is hooked to the winch. We're going to pull that. That winch will pull that leg, not even there. I always have hold of the rope. It's really me doing the pulling. I just make them feel good by working the lever. That log is a couple hundred pounds, not real heavy. Now remember, this ramp went into the water. So that the log was never pulled through the mud. Question? What kind of wood is that? That's hickory. The one that's on the carriage now is basswood. Soft, relatively soft. But it's also, this one's a little harder. Here's something you want to watch. If we saw two logs, I'll bet anybody 50 cents that the water stops going over the falls. This turbine uses over 13,000 gallons a minute. Over 13,000 gallons in 1 minute. We will drain that pond. Right now we're getting water from Duck Harbor. We took a board out of the dam up there, so we're receiving maybe 30 cubic feet a second, something like that. It's not a whole lot. It's enough to saw one log easily. Two logs, maybe. So we'll try it and see what happens. The people at Duck Harbor get a little nervous in this dry weather when they see us yanking boards out. They don't like it. However, truthfully, our deed stipulates that we have water rights. So, hang on.
When did you use the fish up here in Duck Rock?
Okay, before you get interested in other stuff, we're going to make some wood chips fly. We're going to run a four-sided planer, which is right in front of the tractor. We only can cut one side, just the top of the board. It's going to be powered by this tractor. This tractor was born in March of 1942. It weighed 7,500 pounds. It was 140 inches long. Its parents were Jacob and Lydia Case. So Lydia had a heck of a time with this. Between 1942 and now, where the tractor went is kind of questionable. However, back in around 2015, or earlier, a gentleman by the name of Tom Cleveland, after whom this building is named, and who donated virtually all this machinery to us, along with the tractor. He is was a teacher up in the Hancock area, now living in North Carolina. Excuse me back there. Oi! The tractor adopted it, started to perform reconstructive surgery, took it apart into 4 pieces. His wife Louise said, something's got to go. Either you or the tractor, or me or the tractor. So he donated it to the Historical Society along with all these machines. We put it together, transported it down here, and in February 2019, got it running for the first time in gosh knows how many years. When Jerome and Lydia gave birth to this tractor, they called it L.A. Who would name a kid L.A.? I don't know. One of our mill rats was a fan of Little Rascals in our gang and said, let's call it Darla, Alfalfa's famous best girlfriend. So anyway, this is Darla. We're going to start it up, playing some wood. It's noisy. There's earplugs there right next to the gentleman in the yellow shirt. The last thing I'll say is that when we shut Darla off, she inevitably is going to backfire once. So don't be too startled if that happens. Over here to the right side of the
Proved you wrong.
Oh, well.
Set it out in the woods and left it there for 30 years before we got it. It actually the same thing, except it cuts molding. So you can make tongue and groove flooring, for example, molding for baseboard or foam molding with the right colors. This one also runs via the tractor. We don't have it set up for that. We do have it set up with a motor. And it does run at about 10% of its rated speed. So clutch your fingers, you get the general idea.
The board would be put in this way. You can see these teeth under there. They would draw the board into the cutter heads. And depending on what type of knives you have, your cut shapes for like window casing, door trim. Tom Cleveland, that guy up there, used this, the big ship saw, and a couple of the other machines here to mill the lumber to build his house up in Scott Township. The four-sided planer, when he was done with it, he hauled it out into a field. Over there is the photograph of where we found it, and he just left it.
Everything else was in combination of his basement, the garage, an outbuilding, and a chicken coop. That lathe and that milling machine were both in the chicken coop. And the chicken coop door was 36 inches wide, dropped off about 2 feet. We had a guy with a cherry picker, grab it, put it on a flatbed, and Luke Harry. And then when we got down here, we had to unload it off the flatbed, of course. So J.R. Wells came down with a big backhoe, we lifted it off, put it in close proximity. And then we spent the next 3 or 4 years putting it where we wanted it to get it wrong. Most of the stuff, well, really all the stuff runs. There's signs on each machine sort of filling in on what it does, give you a little bit of information on where Tom Cleveland found it. So please feel free to look around. Any of us can answer questions for you. They are all operable. I would probably suggest you ask somebody to run it for you, because you never know. But thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
We run on donations. We depend on y'all to keep us running. We get no funding from the feds or anything like that. Very interesting, got leather straps, strings.
Glad you enjoyed it.
It's called a back knife duplicating lathe. Primarily it was used to make spindles for staircases, railings, and that kind of thing. Depending on what cutters you would put on it, and what cutters you would put in here, you could make different shapes, cut circles, make really cool stuff. We have not figured out how to use this part of it yet. We only have it set up to run little demonstration pieces, whereas when it was really running, it would run a full height railing. So, and this is the way it works. The way it's supposed to work, let me tell you, is once I get this started, this will feed this way. And it's supposed to automatically go to the end and then retract. Usually it'll get hung up about in the middle, and I'll have to manually keep it going to the full length. And we also got to cross our fingers at the belt stay. this does, or did, because they're not very popular these days, fine furniture is made with mortise and tenon joints. This being the tenon, this being the mortise. The tenon's kind of easy to cut. Mortise is not so much. So that's why they developed this machine. This one happens to be automatic. As you saw, it came up all by itself. The one over there, you have to push down, then go up, move the piece over, push down, go up, move the piece over. It takes a little more time, but it's good for your leg muscles. The way these work is you've got a regular twist drill, a round drill in the center, which protrudes just a little bit below this jagged-looking cutter head. That makes the round drill, makes the first cut, takes the most of the wood out. And then this steel with sharp edges squares it off. Squares off your mortise.
I don't know, maybe it's more.
They call it a 4-inch pattern saw, or a 40-inch pattern saw. It's also commonly called a ship saw. The reason it's called a ship saw is even today in the Northwest, in New England, down south, where they're still making wooden ships, you know, built to order, obviously, they use these ship saws. The way it's used in practice no country for old men. A normal bandsaw, when you want to change the angle of the cut, you would tilt the table. Well, when you're dealing with a timber, maybe this big and 20 foot long, for a spar for a ship, that's not practical. So the way these would be used is the shipwright would be standing down here, feeding the timber into the saw. You'd have the apprentice up here, instructing the apprentice on what angle to cut. If you notice, as I turn this wheel, the entire top tilts that way, changes the angle of the cut. Can you see that? And obviously, they didn't have a window right behind us. And these plates here slide back and forth to accommodate different angles of the saw. Ourselves, quite frequently, when we're cutting timbers to replace replacement timbers for down in the mill. I don't know if you noticed some of the beams down there look rather new. We cut them on this. Is what they are. But when we got this, the tread, if you will, was shot. So we scrounged up some inner tube material. It happened to be the right diameter. Stretched it around, took the old stuff off, put some glue on it, stretched the inner tube around it, and put new tires on it. Anyway, that's a ship saw. That's him on the way. Even bought shoemaking equipment from Endicott Johnson. I don't know if you remember, they were a shoemaker up in New York. So if the belt stays on this, it's a shoe finishing machine. Finishing a shoe. And each station has little glass inlets on it to take the top and shoot it out the end. where the blue or whatever. So souls, we have no idea. Things order out. There's actually a video of a guy who was repairing and restoring one of these. Way beyond us.